I want us to feel really happy about having a go at making a junk journal. So in today's video I'm going to share my top 5 tips for starting to make junk journals using some of the art and junk journals that I've been making to explain my suggestions. So if having a good time making a junk journal is something that really interests you, then hit the subscribe button and ding that notification bell so you can catch the next video in the series. I have lots of projects and ideas to come. My first tip is to have a picture in your mind, a vision, something to imagine and motivate and encourage you to actually start making that junk journal so that you can turn your ideas into action. How many times have we all watched a video and thought, I'd actually like to do and make that, but not gone away and done it? So I found that more recently having that vision in my mind is something that's helped me produce some of my more recent journals, and the ones that I'm a little bit happier with. And it had, for example, with this autumn one, a much more coherent set of pages and matched the vision that I wanted to create, whereas my earlier ones were more of just a mixture of papers put together. And although I think it was important for me to go through that stage and have a go at creating some of these, I do think having the vision in my mind has helped me be a bit more effective in creating the kind of journal that I want. So that's my first suggestion. Have something to motivate you and to anchor your creativity around as you put your papers together. My second tip is about starting small, and I guess I started a bit bigger on some of these earlier journals. Maybe they're also a little bit arty as well as junky, but nowadays I have found that I want to get a journal finished and not have it lingering unfinished for weeks and months. So when I say start small, I mean maybe start with fewer pages, maybe start with just one signature, and what that does is it means that there's less work when you're coming to bind it and there are fewer pages to decorate. So in several of my more recent journals I've been sticking to a single signature, but I have been packing the pages in and it still feels as though it's the kind of journal that I wanted to create. So if finishing a journal will help you really believe that you can create these and raise your confidence that you're going to finish the job and have a beautiful paper product, then my suggestion is that you start small. And that brings me really to my third tip, which is all about how to create interest and beauty in the pages that you put into a journal. Let's use this little botanical journal as an example. I think I got a little bit better about choosing the types of papers to put together, and my tips around creating the interest and the beauty of paper in the form of a journal is maybe to begin with to think about a colour palette. So which 2 or maybe 3 colours would work for you, and are there pieces of paper in your scrapbook and junk journal collection that would work with a 2 or 3 colour palette theme? Maybe also think about putting papers with different textures into the journal so that you've got that contrast and variety. Also think about having different fonts on the pages, and how they sit together on a page can be really interesting. So here we've got really small font from a thesaurus, and here we've got big bold black print from another book. So creating that variety around the amount of space you have on one page to write on, and on another page maybe having more text and pictures that fills it out a little bit. And maybe the last point on creating this interest is I personally quite like to have pages with different sizes in a signature. When I started off doing these, so the earlier ones are actually pretty much all the same height and width, but I moved on to thinking that I did quite like variety in the pages, so that when you turn them, not only have you got fold outs here, but you've got pages that are not quite big enough. In fact, some of these were big enough, but I cut them down to give that sort of sense of difference and variety as you turn the pages. Overall though, my encouragement would be don't procrastinate. Look at what you've got, maybe use some of the suggestions that I've raised here, but put something together and just see the magic in what you create. It may be different from what you'd do if you spent hours and hours perfecting it, but I'm sure it will be fantastic and you'll enjoy doing it. And that really moves me on to point number 4, which is all about having fun decorating the pages. So creating a junk journal has got to be about having fun, and what I really enjoy is adding belly bands, pockets, tip-ins to make them sort of chunky and squidgy and add extra interest. But you can also add paint. You can paint little journaling cards, you can add chalk to the pages, you can create your own ephemera and put those in. Here's an example of a belly band done with a piece of scrapbook paper. You can add, and I see a lot of stickers being added, and they could be in the form of peel-offs or other types. And what I was doing on some of my earlier journals, maybe in here I can find one or two, I was stamping and adding little pieces of scrapbook paper. I was creating tags, and I've been adding, where I felt it fitted with the theme, little sequins. So my 4th suggestion was all about having fun decorating your journal. And my 5th suggestion is to choose an easy way to bind your signature into your cover. When I started doing these journals, it actually felt a little bit daunting to see some of the different and complex ways in which people were binding their signatures in, and if I'm frank, it put me off a bit. So I had a go at some different ways. This is more of an art journal perhaps, and as you can see, I've sampled using a different format for holding pages in. What I've moved to more recently, and it benefits from having just a single signature, so that simple method, is to bind using a little figure of 8. I have a bit of depth of spine, I just use string, so there's nothing particularly complicated about that, but it's an easy method, and it means that I finish the job because it's not something that I put off because it's a bit difficult. So when you've finished your lovely project, maybe using some of those suggestions, and I would really love to know your suggestions for making junk journaling easy, just sit back, relax, congratulate yourself on a job well done creating an item of beauty using paper, and take a moment to give yourself the credit for what you've done, and then maybe move on to another. I hope you've enjoyed my suggestions for starting to make junk journals. Do come back next week when I'll have more ideas with another video. Hit the subscribe button, ding that bell, and I look forward to seeing you in a week. Bye!